I was at home when I found out that my clinic had suspended care due to the recent Supreme Court ruling, and I immediately fell to the ground crying. I felt like the entire world had been ripped out from under me. I then called my mother, and thankfully she was able to come over and be with me. We were both devastated. About 2 years ago, I found out that I had a congenital heart defect. We had recently been married about 6 months prior to that, so we were trying to conceive naturally. Upon finding out that I had this congenital heart defect, I was advised by doctors to stop trying to conceive as it could put my life in jeopardy. And through that process, we found out that we in fact carry a different mutation that is very severe and fatal for incompatible with life. So my husband and I started a series of genetic tests and procedures. This has taken over 2 years, multiple genetic panels, a lot of genetic counseling, and multiple surgical procedures on my part in order to be able to ensure that when we transfer an embryo, it has its best chance at becoming a baby. And with that, I had my first egg retrieval in October of last year. We have one frozen embryo that is viable from that cycle. We had our second egg retrieval in January of this year on the 31st. We are still awaiting results from our genetic testing to see if we have any viable embryos. So we were hopeful that we could begin a transfer as early as March or April, and now our entire timeline is in jeopardy.
It took 5 years to get to Andy, and we went through just about every different procedure you could go through. We've been together for about 8 years, married for about 6. We pretty much started trying to get pregnant immediately. And even though we had no reason to believe so ahead of time, we realized very quickly that it wasn't gonna happen naturally for us without medical intervention. We went through IUI or intrauterine examination. We went through full genetic testing. Then we went through our first round of IVF. There was one more avenue that we could try, which was called embryo donation. Embryo donation is when other couples who have had IVF then have leftover embryos. They've completed their family, but they have leftover embryos still frozen, and they donate them for couples like us.
So we sold our house.
So we sold our house. We did. We sold our house and took the proceeds from the sale of our house, and we put it towards this embryo donation program. I think we wouldn't have Andy if this had happened to us. I can't imagine what we would have done instead.
It's such like a red herring to even go back to this argument of like, where does life begin? And like, where does the personhood of an embryo or a fetus or whatever begin? And now with the IVF restrictions, it's like these people who are in a last ditch desperate effort most of the time to have a baby are having their right to that revoked as well.
While this is happening in Alabama, make no mistake, this has the ability to happen everywhere. Again, there are a lot of misconceptions about being in the South and that this is a Southern thing, this is a Southern issue. It's because you guys are religious, it's because you're a red state. Make no mistake, if you drive 30 minutes out of any one of the major cities in the US, you're going to encounter people who have some of the same views as these lawmakers.
I'm a doula labor support person, and I don't get to offer those services as much as I have in the past. One of the most absolutely wonderful and most impactful moments of my life was when I got to help participate in a home IUI for an LGBTQ couple. And so now they have a daughter, and they were able to grow their family. And so now IVF is off the table. Okay, well, what does that mean in terms of like ordering sperm for IUIs? What about providers who do IUIs in hospital, right? And that relationship between donors, hospitals, and future parents. It's all interconnected. It's all intersectional.
I am extremely afraid of needles. My husband has had to do all the preparation of all of my medications and administer all of my shots for me while I lay down and I cover my eyes because I truly can't even look at the needle as it's happening.
It's very helpless. Because what can you do? It's definitely one of those things. It's like, I wish you could take your pain and put it on me, but it's like there's no way I can. And so, every night and seeing her stomach get bruised and, knowing that she's doing this for both of us. And I'm just having to kind of sit by the side and watch this.
Minutes, days, and hours matter here. These treatments are based off of women's menstrual cycles. And so if we lose days, we're actually losing months. You can't start these treatments over just because you've disrupted a week or two. You have to wait, sometimes 4 to 6 weeks. One of my gravest concerns is that there are women in the state of Alabama that are going to be diagnosed with cancer in the coming weeks who will face having to make decisions about fertility preservation and egg retrieval and forming embryos before they begin their treatment. And so I don't want any woman to have to make that decision before they have to fight for their lives. They should be able to plan for their families.
All of this stuff happening in our government where someone else in a seat far away in Montgomery or Washington or wherever making decisions about what I can do with my uterus is crap. I think that the people that are making these decisions need to listen to the doctors and to the women who are walking this walk and who are escorting these families through this tragic, lonely, terrifying process of infertility.
When I was coming here today, I felt so much anxiety of like, am I qualified to speak on this? Because I'm not pregnant, I've never been pregnant. And I've had to tell myself all week, like, yes, I'm qualified to speak on this. I can be pregnant. I'm infinitely more qualified than the people making these laws to talk about this issue. And I cannot understand at all how a person who cannot get pregnant, could never be pregnant, and will never face these issues has the gall to legislate this.
So I guarantee you, if every person who had embryos in the freezer, every pregnant person took out an insurance policy and, started claiming dependents on their taxes, that all of a sudden we'd see some real change. And I guarantee you we would nip it in the bud immediately.
I also can't even begin to fathom what my life would be like without being a mom, without seeing him being a dad, which has been one of the greatest joys, honestly, of this process is getting to watch your partner grow and love someone as much as they love you, probably a little bit more, and we're okay with that.